Course Introduction. At ECIC, employees operate in a high-stakes environment where deadlines, compliance, and customer commitments demand excellence. While dedication is essential, long-term performance depends on balancing professional responsibilities with personal well-being. This course empowers employees to understand, practice, and sustain healthy work-life integration. It addresses the realities of the South African workplace, ECIC's operational culture, and practical strategies for reducing stress, improving productivity, and supporting personal growth outside of work. Welcome to Module 1, Understanding Work-Life Balance. In this module, we're going to explore what balance really means here at ECIC, not just as a buzzword, but as something that directly affects how we live, how we work, and how we deliver on our organizational goals. Think of this as more than training. It's a pause button, a moment for you to reflect on your own daily patterns. Are you managing to leave work at work, or are you checking emails at midnight? Do you find yourself constantly tired on Monday mornings, or struggling to concentrate during long meetings? These are all real-life signals of how well or poorly balance is playing out in our lives. Why is this important? Because your well-being isn't separate from ECIC's success. When you're balanced, you're sharper, more creative, and more resilient. For example, a rested project manager can spot risks early and lead the team effectively, while an exhausted one may overlook key details that impact deadlines and compliance. So as we go through this module, treat it as a mirror, a chance to honestly assess yourself. You'll walk away with tools and examples that can help you make small but meaningful changes, both at home and in the office. Let's begin the journey toward balance. Not perfection, but sustainable ways of working and living that benefit both you and ECIC. Purpose of the module. The purpose of this module is straightforward: to build a strong foundation for understanding balance at work and in life. Now, let's be clear. There is no perfect formula for balance. Life is unpredictable. Some weeks will be smooth, while others will feel overwhelming. Instead of chasing perfection, this module focuses on helping you recognize what matters, why it matters, and how to respond before imbalance takes a toll on your health, your performance, or even your ethical decision-making at ECIC. For example, think of an employee who constantly works late into the night, trying to clear every single email. On the surface, it looks productive, but over time, the late nights lead to fatigue, small mistakes in financial reports, and eventually, missed compliance details. Compare that to someone who sets boundaries, clears the most urgent and important tasks, and leaves the rest for tomorrow. The second employee is not only healthier, but also more reliable in their output. Or consider family responsibilities. Many of us at ECIC juggle extended family duties, school drop-offs, caring for elders, or simply being present at home. Without balance, employees may feel guilty at home and overwhelmed at work, which creates stress in both spaces. This module is about showing that you can find practical ways to integrate both worlds without losing yourself in the process. Remember, small, proactive steps often prevent bigger problems later. Taking a 10-minute break during a hectic day can stop weeks of burnout. Speaking to your manager about workload early can prevent serious errors or missed deadlines down the line. So the purpose is simple but powerful: to help you build awareness, take small corrective actions, and understand how your personal well-being is directly linked to ECIC's success as an organization. Learning outcomes. By the end of this module, you'll walk away with more than just concepts. You'll have practical tools you can apply immediately in your role at ECIC. Let's break it down. First, you'll be able to define what work-life balance really means in the context of ECIC's culture and values. For us, balance is not about working less, it's about working smarter, protecting well-being, and ensuring our outputs meet the highest standards of governance and fairness. For example, a balance claims officer doesn't just finish tasks faster. They also avoid errors that could affect customers and compliance with treating customers fairly. Second, you'll understand the benefits of balance, not only for yourself, but also for your family, your team, and the organization. When you are well-rested and less stressed, you're more patient at home, more collaborative at work, and more reliable in delivering accurate reports or analyses. Imagine the ripple effect. One person's improved focus lifts the performance of an entire project team while at the same time strengthening family relationships at home. Third, you'll be able to identify the common challenges that throw balance off track. These include long working hours, constant digital interruptions, or even cultural pressures like family responsibilities outside of work. For instance, maybe you've felt the pressure of checking emails during dinner or staying late at the office every month end. These habits may seem small, but over time they build stress and reduce effectiveness. Finally, you'll be able to recognize the red flags that show imbalance is creeping in. These could be physical signs like headaches or fatigue, emotional signs like irritability, or professional warning signs like missed deadlines. For example, an overworked analyst may start producing reports with small but significant errors, not because they lack skill, but because they're running on empty. These aren't just abstract theories, they're real tools that you can use day to day. The goal is to help you manage your energy, protect your well-being, and deliver quality results at ECIC while still having the capacity to show up fully in your personal life. What work-life balance is and isn't extended script. Let's begin by clearing one of the biggest myths about work-life balance. Many people imagine balance as a neat 50-50 split, half the day for work, half for personal life. But real life doesn't operate on such perfect ratios. Some days your work will demand more of you, and other days your family or personal needs will take priority. So, what is balance? It's not about equal time. It's about integration and sustainability. It's about finding ways to manage your energy and commitments so that neither side completely drains you. Think of balance like maintaining a bank account. You can withdraw when necessary, but you also need to keep depositing into your health, relationships, and rest. Here's an example. Suppose you live in Soweto and work in Santon. Just commuting alone can take 2 hours a day. If you tried to split your hours equally between work and home, you'd set yourself up for frustration. Instead, you might decide that your commute time is quiet recharge time, listening to audiobooks, podcasts, or even practicing mindfulness. This way, the commute adds value rather than becoming wasted stress. Or consider a project manager at ECIC who is leading a high-stakes compliance project. During reporting season, work might require longer hours. But after that peak, they can intentionally block off evenings for family dinners or take a wellness day to recover. Balance isn't daily perfection. It's about designing a rhythm that allows for periods of intensity, followed by intentional recovery. And here's what balance is not. It's not constantly being on call for work emails after hours. It's not sacrificing sleep or health just to tick off one more task. And it's not about guilt, feeling guilty for working late or guilty for spending time with your family. Balance is about what's sustainable over the long run. Can you keep this pace for months or years without damaging your health, relationships, or work quality? If the answer is no, then adjustments are needed. The bottom line, work-life balance is not about perfection. It's about creating a realistic, flexible approach that allows you to meet your responsibilities at ECIC while still protecting your personal well-being and values. Why balance matters for ECIC, Part 1. So why does balance matter? The benefits always start with you as an individual. When you're balanced, your body gets proper rest, which means you wake up with more energy and your mind is sharper. You're able to focus better, process information more clearly, and make sounder decisions. This isn't just about feeling good. It has a direct effect on the quality of your work here at ECIC. Think about it. When you're well rested, you approach tasks with confidence and clarity. For example, imagine you're working on a PFMA compliance report, a high-stakes document that requires accuracy, attention to detail, and alignment with strict deadlines. If you've been getting enough rest, you're more likely to spot small inconsistencies in the data, double-check figures, and deliver a report that stands up to audit scrutiny. But now compare that to working in a state of imbalance, staying up late, running on caffeine, and barely sleeping. In that state, you might rush through the report, overlook key numbers, or misinterpret data. One small mistake can have major consequences, not just for you, but for the entire organization. Balance also boosts your creativity and problem solving. When you're not overwhelmed, your brain has the space to think differently. For instance, an underwriter who is rested may see innovative solutions for a client's coverage challenge, while someone exhausted might only focus on ticking boxes and miss opportunities for value. And balance makes you more resilient. Stressful moments are inevitable: tight deadlines, tough negotiations, unexpected changes. But when your health and well-being are supported, you bounce back faster. Instead of being thrown off course by one challenge, you can recover and keep moving forward. So balance isn't a nice to have, it's a performance tool. It gives you the energy, focus, and confidence to do your job well. In short, when you look after your balance, you're also looking after the quality of your outputs at ECIC. Why balance matters for ECIC Part 2. Now let's look at balance from an organizational perspective. Why does it matter so much to ECIC? The truth is, work-life balance isn't only about individual well-being. It directly affects how the organization performs, how sustainable we are as a business, and even how the public perceives us as a state-owned entity. First, balance reduces absenteeism and burnout. When employees are consistently overworked, they eventually reach a breaking point, either by taking extended sick leave or, worse, by leaving the organization altogether. For ECIC, that means projects stall, expertise is lost, and recruitment costs increase. But when employees maintain balance, they show up consistently, with the energy and focus needed to deliver results. For example, consider an ECIC project team working on a new export credit insurance framework. If the team is burnt out, deadlines are missed, mistakes creep into the policy, and the credibility of ECIC suffers. But if the team is balanced and supported, they meet milestones on time, with fewer errors, and maintain the trust of stakeholders. Second, balance helps EC retain top talent. High-performing staff members are valuable assets, and replacing them is costly and disruptive. If employees feel they are constantly sacrificing their well-being, they may leave for organizations that offer more supportive environments. On the other hand, when staff see that ECIC values balance through wellness programs, flexible arrangements, or simply supportive leadership, they're more likely to stay, grow, and contribute over the long term. Third, balance strengthens ethical resilience. This is especially important in a governance-driven environment like ours. Fatigued employees are more likely to make poor judgments or cut corners under pressure. For instance, an exhausted procurement officer might fail to notice a compliance irregularity, or a fatigued analyst could overlook a red flag in a financial transaction. These lapses don't just affect performance. They create governance risks that could damage ECIC's reputation and accountability under PFMA. Finally, balance builds trust and fairness. Clients and stakeholders expect ECIC to deliver with precision, transparency, and fairness. An overstretched employee may unintentionally provide incomplete advice to a client or process an application without due diligence, which could lead to perceptions of unfair treatment. By promoting balance, ECIC ensures staff have the mental clarity and energy to uphold treating customers fairly, TCF principles, and maintain trust with both government and clients. So, why does balance matter for ECIC? Because it's not just about well-being, it's about performance, retention, governance, and trust. A balanced workforce is a resilient workforce, and that resilience protects both employees and the organization's long-term success. Signs of imbalance: physical. Your body often speaks before your mind does. One of the clearest ways to spot imbalance is by paying attention to physical warning signs. Common physical signs include constant fatigue, even after what should be a full night's sleep, poor or disrupted sleep patterns, frequent headaches or muscle tension, especially in the neck and shoulders, recurring minor illnesses like colds and flu because stress weakens your immune system, changes in appetite or digestive issues. Think of this in a practical ECIC context. Imagine an analyst who regularly works late into the night, then struggles to wake up the next morning. Over time, their body feels permanently exhausted, and they start relying on coffee or energy drinks just to function. They may begin arriving late, missing early meetings, or struggling to concentrate in discussions. That's not a performance issue. That's imbalance showing up physically. Or picture someone preparing for an important ECIC board submission. They've been glued to their laptop for days, barely moving. Their back aches, their shoulders are stiff, and headaches become normal. This is the body's way of signaling you're pushing too hard without recovery. Why does this matter? Because if these physical signs are ignored, they can escalate into more serious health conditions: hypertension, anxiety related illness, or burnout requiring long term absence from work. At that point, both the employee and the organization pay the price. Balance allows you to protect your body as much as your mind. Small actions, like taking short walking breaks, drinking enough water, or committing to 7 to 8 hours of sleep, can make the difference between sustainable performance and complete exhaustion. So, the key message here is your body is always talking. Fatigue, headaches, or constant illness aren't inconveniences to push through. They are red flags telling you to stop, rebalance, and recover before things become serious. Signs of imbalance, emotional and professional. Imbalance doesn't just affect the body, it also shows up in your emotions and in your professional performance. These warning signs are just as important to recognize because they often creep in quietly before becoming visible to others. Emotionally, imbalance can look like irritability or a short temper, snapping at colleagues or family over small issues. Withdrawal, avoiding conversations, skipping team check-ins, or isolating yourself. Loss of motivation, struggling to get started on tasks that normally excite you. Feeling overwhelmed, even small tasks feel like mountains. For example, imagine an ESEIC employee who normally enjoys client interactions. Lately, they feel drained before every meeting, easily frustrated when a client asks for clarifications, and they avoid engaging fully in discussions. That's not poor attitude, that's emotional imbalance surfacing. Professionally, imbalance often shows as missed deadlines or rushed, incomplete work, increased errors in reports, calculations, or documentation, lack of engagement during meetings or projects, difficulty focusing for more than a few minutes at a time. Picture an overworked analyst in the finance unit. Normally, their reports are detailed and precise, but after weeks of late nights, their work starts to include small but critical mistakes, a misplaced decimal point, missed compliance detail, or incomplete reconciliation. It's not that their skills have declined, they're simply drained and unable to sustain the same level of focus. Why does this matter for ECIC? Because emotional withdrawal and professional errors don't stay personal. They affect teams, projects, compliance, and even client relationships. A disengaged team member lowers morale for the whole group. An overlooked error in a PFMA compliance report can damage ESEIC's reputation for governance. Balance helps prevent these emotional and professional slips. By recognizing the early red flags, irritability, withdrawal, or missed deadlines, you can take action before the situation escalates into burnout, misconduct, or governance risks. The key takeaway: if you find yourself snapping more often, dreading tasks you used to enjoy, or struggling to keep up with your usual quality of work, pause. These aren't signs of weakness. They're signs that your balance needs attention. Work-life balance in ECIC's context. At ECIC, work-life balance is not a side issue. It's directly tied to our mandate, our governance duties, and how we treat our clients. 1. Balance and governance. As a public entity, ECIC is bound by the PFMA to uphold accountability, transparency, and ethical conduct. But here's the reality. Tired, stressed employees are more likely to make governance mistakes. For example, a fatigued finance officer might overlook a discrepancy in an export loan repayment schedule. Or a compliance officer under pressure might rush through a procurement review, missing a red flag that later leads to reputational damage. In both cases, the root cause isn't lack of competence, it's imbalance. Supporting staff balance reduces these governance risks. 2. Balance and customer fairness. Our clients, exporters, businesses, and partners rely on ECIC for fair, consistent, and professional service. But when employees are exhausted or disengaged, client service suffers. Imagine a claims processor who is overloaded and misses important supporting documents. This could delay a client's payout, causing frustration and eroding trust. Or picture a project officer so stressed they rush through advice, giving incomplete guidance to a client. The client might feel treated unfairly, even if the intent wasn't there. Supporting balance helps ensure that treating customers fairly, TCF principles are consistently applied. 3. Balance and organizational integrity. Work-life balance also protects our collective integrity. When employees are supported, they're less tempted to cut corners, more resilient under pressure, and more aligned with ECIC's values. This strengthens both our internal culture and our external reputation. That's why ECC invests in wellness initiatives, employee assistance programs, and HR support. Because balance isn't just about personal well-being. It's about protecting our ethics, our governance, and the trust we hold with stakeholders. The key message here is this. At ECC, work-life balance is not only encouraged, it is part of how we ensure compliance, fairness, and long-term organizational success. Reflection and discussion prompt. Now let's turn the focus back to you. Think of a time when you personally felt off balance. What were the first signs you noticed? Was it physical, like constant fatigue or recurring headaches? Was it emotional, like irritability at home, snapping at colleagues, or feeling unmotivated? Or was it professional, missing deadlines, making small mistakes, or avoiding tasks you'd normally handle with ease? Here's an example. Imagine you're in the middle of ECIC's month-end close. The workload is heavy and deadlines are tight. At first, you might notice you're staying up later and sleeping less. Then you start skipping lunch breaks to catch up. Before long, you're irritable with teammates, you miss small details in reports, and even at home, you're too drained to enjoy family time. That's imbalance in action. And it often creeps in without us realizing until it's already affecting multiple areas of our lives. Now pause and reflect. What did imbalance look like for you? Did you notice the signs early or only when things reached crisis point? And what did it cost you in terms of health, relationships, or performance? This reflection isn't about guilt or blame. It's about awareness. Because once you can name the red flags, you're far more likely to catch them early next time and make the changes needed to protect both your well-being and your work at ECIC. Take a moment now to jot down your personal signs of imbalance. If you're comfortable, share them with your group or team. You'll be surprised how many of us experience the same patterns. Awareness is always the first step to change. Module 1 Summary. Let's wrap up Module 1, Understanding Work-Life Balance. We've seen that work-life balance is not about chasing perfection or splitting your time evenly between work and home. Instead, it's about creating a sustainable integration where your energy, focus, and well-being are protected so that you can thrive both personally and professionally. Key takeaway 1. Balance benefits your health. When you're rested, nourished, and physically well, you're stronger, sharper, and more resilient. For example, a well-rested analyst is less likely to fall ill during peak deadlines, which means continuity for both you and ECIC. Key takeaway 2. Balance improves productivity. A focused, clear mind produces higher quality work in less time. Think of the PFMA compliance report example we used earlier. Better balance means fewer errors, faster delivery, and more confidence in results. Key takeaway 3. Balance protects ethics and governance. Exhausted employees are more likely to make mistakes or cut corners. Supporting balance ensures ECIC delivers with integrity, fairness, and compliance. For instance, a balanced procurement officer is more alert to irregularities that could otherwise slip through. And finally, ECX supports balance as part of good governance. Wellness initiatives, HR support, and the employee assistance program are not extras. They're investments in you because your well-being directly protects the organization's integrity and success. So the big picture is this: balance equals sustainable integration. Benefits: stronger health, higher productivity, and ethical resilience. Action: recognize red flags early and use ECI systems to support yourself before imbalance becomes crisis. Remember, balance is not selfish, it's responsible. When you take care of yourself, you're also taking care of ECIC, your colleagues, and the clients we serve.